our caveman bowls. First thing, whenever you get a piece of clay, I want you to pack it into a ball. Not really get in there. Be aggressive with it. Especially when we start getting on the wheel, you really want to get rid of all the air pockets out of this. So at first, I'm not really even trying to get it into a ball shape. I'm just trying to kind of compact it and compress it. Compression in here is a big deal. Later on down the lines, if you're making things, if you don't do this, it could lead to cracking and it doesn't firm up.
It's not showing up on the camera.
You what?
It's not showing up on the camera. You're saying that you wanted to.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, we're recording. You mean you can't see me?
Yeah, like, oh, now it works, but no, it's not.
Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to pack that into a ball, get it a decently round shape, and then set it down. And only one of you, one for every two people, has to go get a ball of clay, because you're going to split it. So you want to split it as evenly as possible. So I'm going to cut with a cutting wire. You can use a cutting wire, a smooth rib if you wanted to. There it is. You could cut it in half this way. Okay. I'm going to cut it as precisely as I can. And the straighter you cut it, the better. So sometimes the smooth rib works better for my students, and that's fine. Okay, I've got my little flat piece. Okay, that flat portion of it really helps in making the bowl. So now I'm going to squeeze with my thumb right in here. Squeeze like that, making a little crater. Then I'm going to barely move over. Right there. Barely move over. What I get is a lot of students will scoot over, they'll go here, and they scoot way over here, and then way over here. And it's going to make a sloppy bowl. Trust me, I'll show you what not to do in just a minute. So I'm just barely scooting over, just to make a little bowl shape. Okay? Basic little bowl shape. Now I'm going to start thinning the walls. The way I do that is I start at the very bottom, and it's kind of working in a spiral shape. It's not very good to draw with. So you see a little spiral on the inside? That's how I want to work, and I'll show you what I mean. So a little spiral. So I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to pinch and scoot over. Pinch, scoot over, pinch, scoot over. So right there, I'm thinning the very bottom. Notice it's getting deeper. Okay, it's getting deeper. If you start right at the sides and you just thin the walls, it's going to be really shallow, what we call a blowout. So now I've done that all the way around at the very bottom. So I'm going to scoot up just a little bit. Then I'm going to start pinching there. Okay, and I'm just pinching to where I can feel it thinning in my hands. I don't want to do it all at once. So sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 circles around there. Okay, I did that twice on that level. And I'm going to scoot up a little bit more. Notice I haven't touched the lip at all. It's still nice and thick, really sturdy. So what happens a lot is my students will, or my artists will, thin the lip. And when they thin the lip, then they start stretching it out and it cracks. 1, it could be from dryness, so you may need to add some water. 2, from being too thin and then you stretched it out. So I'm going to thin these walls a little bit more. Okay. Notice my lip's a little wonky. I can take this on the table. Nice and flat. Okay. So I'm just checking the thickness all the way around. So right here I just felt the spot that was really thick. So I'm just going to thin that out. How much? As much as the rest of the walls are. I kind of just go next to it and squeeze. Next to it another spot that's thinner and squeeze it again. Okay. Right now I'm just kind of evening out the shape. I see some spots that are deeper than others. I'm just kind of pushing with these 2 fingers in there. Okay, I've got a nice little dome shape there. I've got all these little finger marks on the outside, finger marks on the inside. So I'm going to clean those up. This will probably look a little easier than it really is, but trust me, try it. It'll save you a lot of time. Instead of sitting there with a sponge trying to smooth these out, I take my thumb right here. This one's gonna hold the clay. That's really all it does. And this one rolls. So I'm gonna set it down and I'm gonna use this thumb to roll the clay this way. Okay, that'll even out, or not even out, but sort of clean up everything on the inside and the outside, except for the bottom, which I'm gonna put a foot on there, so I'm not worried about it right now. So right now I'm gonna thin the lip just a little bit, make sure that they're even. Like right here's my thinnest spot, I wanna make everything match that. Or make it even thinner than that, if I wanna thin it out more. But again, be cautious, because if you end up stretching it out more later, you could crack the lip. Craftsmanship in this one, I really look for like how thick things are. It shouldn't be too thick, because that means you didn't work far enough. But it shouldn't be too thin either. Thinness is always fragile. For a long period of time, especially during the 90s and early 2000s, everybody wanted pottery to be super thin and super light, but they found out that they had a higher turnover rate because things would break. People would set down their coffee mugs or whatever and it would just shatter on. So right now I'm just kind of cleaning up the lip, rounding it off a little bit. It's not so sharp. Glaze tends to melt into molten, and so it'll melt away from sharp edges. So you'll end up with something like, say you actually wanted to use this for a cup, you'd end up with kind of a groggy little edge, a little rocky edge. So try to round things, soften them up a little bit. Anybody know what a mocha head day is? So you can use these as mocha head days. Once we glaze them, you can make the little, I'm not sure which one's which, but one's a mortar and the other one's a pestle. So you can actually make the little hammer, so you can turn this into a mocha head day. If you don't know what that is, it's to grind up spices and things like that. Okay, so I have the basic bowl pretty much made. Now I need to make the foot, but I want to show you the blowout first. So this is what I get a lot. Is the blowout bowl. Another reason that I didn't mention, but another reason I start from the bottom here and work my way out slowly as I go up, is because I can't reach. I have huge hands. I've literally never seen another person with bigger hands than mine. Really big hands. So if I can't reach it, you most likely won't be able to reach it. So if I go too far out, too early, and I haven't thinned this part, later I can't reach it. I gotta find a way. I gotta hold one finger here and one here. And it's just a challenge. So this is the blowout bowl. Really wide, really shallow. I get a lot of these every year. Okay? If you get it to where you don't like it, what we're doing here to erase things, ball it up. Okay, start over. Not a big deal. Some of you will do this and that's totally fine. And again, compress it. This is really gonna have some air pockets in it. Hopefully I'll get one that blows out and I can show you where it is. Didn't have any air blowout. Doesn't mean there's not an air pocket in there though. Air pockets can cause explosions in here, so your piece may explode in the kiln. Moisture is the main culprit of that. Thickness would be next, and then air pockets. So now, you end up starting over. You don't have that flat edge to start with, right? Simple. Pack it down. Start it the same way. Okay? Start it again. Pinch around. Get your bowl shape going, and then you can get to here. Okay? So now I'm going to show you how to make a foot. So a coil, when you roll a coil, you're going to roll a lot of coils in here. And when you roll a coil, you want to keep your hand parallel to the table or whatever surface you're on. So you don't want to go this way. I get a lot of students that do this curved thing. You want to keep it parallel to the table. I just use the weight of my hand. I don't put any extra oomph into it. So just let it roll. And again, this will be looks a little easier than it really is. Coils, if you push too hard, you end up with this little flat, chunky piece. Let's see if I can pull it off. So you end up with little flat pieces. So if you're going like this, and you're getting that thump, 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 that means you're pushing too hard. Okay? It should just be nice and light, like that. Okay? I'm going to roll this into a thinner coil. And what I'm going to be making right now is the base, or the foot. This is the foot. Okay, it's not done yet. Trevor, come join us, please. Come on over. I want to make sure you guys can see. Anytime you can't see, just move over. Or let me know and we'll figure it out together. Okay, so I like the thinness of this side, so I'm going to get the rest of it about that thin. Okay, nice and even. At the end, if I have little fingerprints on there, just roll it across the flat table. It'll flatten it out for you. So I'm not really even pushing now, I'm just rolling the coil. Okay, that's plenty big for my foot. So I'll show you what I see a lot in these is a little tiny foot. So 10-minute bell. Little tiny foot like this. If I blend that in, it's going to be even smaller. It's not going to be very stable. So I want to make sure my foot's kind of wide. So I'm going to place this on here. See how much wider that one is? So now I'm going to overlap that just a little bit so I can cut it. So it'll match up. Place that on. Find out where I want it exactly. Then I'm going to trace around the outside. Trace. So I know where it's going to sit, and I can put it back there when I'm ready. So I'll set it aside. I'm going to score and slip. Anything I want to stick together, I have to score and slip. So if I want something to stick together, what do I need to do? Score and slip. Okay, scored. Then I'm going to score the other surface. I'm going to blend this just a little bit so I don't have to do it later. Score. The more you score, the better it's going to stick. Okay, I'm going to add a little slip. This should always be the consistency of a milkshake, like a thin milkshake. If you look at it, it looks like cake batter. Add some water to it. Okay, then I'm going to flip this right back on there. Figure out where I need it. Okay. Now I'm going to blend. I'm going to use my modeling tool. You can use whatever you want to use, finger, whatever. I just find that this works best for me. I use the popsicle stick side, this side. And I blend it down on the outside first. All the way around. And I move little steps. If I move too far, I end up making more work for myself. Okay, so notice I went down on those. So then when I go across to blend them in, I go across them. I go the opposite direction. So I'll go here. It just speeds up the blending. So that way I don't have to focus on that too long. But I will blend this completely to where you can barely tell that I added a piece. It'll look like one unit, okay? You blend the outside. You also need to blend the inside. So I'm going to take this, blend the inside. So make sure your coil is plenty thick. Notice I'm taking away a lot of my coil and blending it into the pot. Okay, blended. Okay, if you notice it's taller on one side, you can always use a cutting wire and cut it off. But I want to make sure I thin it out to where it looks nice and even. I could pinch this, make little feet on it. Now would be time to really give me something original, something creative. Okay, so I need to do something with the shape. So this one, the shape, all I did was I took this And I would make sure that my lip is nice and squared away before doing this, but I push this. This. So these are all from the inside pushing out. Then I'll do from the outside pushing in. Okay, I could thin the lip out. I could pinch these if I wanted to. Just kind of going on the fly here. Okay, a little bit more for creativity. Then I would need a texture, okay? All of you, 10% of this grade is a texture. Well, a lot of people draw pictures on the sides. It's not necessarily a texture. Can pictures be a texture? Absolutely. A texture is something I can look at and know without even touching it that I can feel it once I do touch it. So I'll show you a couple examples. Okay, you can use any tool you want. Some students will use the back of like their pens or pencils, modeling tool. Okay, something like that would be a texture. And I'd repeat that pattern down here, kind of the opposite. Again, you copy what I do, that you're not going to get those originality points. I want you to be your own artist, don't be me. How does this pattern or this texture necessarily go with my shape? Not really. Not really a good sense of unity, but I'd figure something that would work with my pattern. Maybe some sort of flower pattern, something like that. Some sort of texture. So I could do something, I think I could do this. Pushing the back of this in there. That could give me my texture. Okay? So it may take me 2 days to make this. It will usually take me 3 days to clean it up. So now this is time to clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up. I'll just be cleaning everything, making sure there's no dents. Dents are craftsmanship. If I see one dent, I can't give you those points. Okay, so make sure it's as clean as possible. So this one's a little cleaner because I had a little bit more time to work on it. You can see some of the texture that I created on there, little fish scales. Just come up, use whatever tools you want. I do have some extra tools in my desk, which you just need to put your student ID in the desk for me. Okay? And make sure you get it before you go because you gotta wear it. But just put your student ID in the desk and let me know that you took a tool. Smith, I'm gonna borrow this tool. It's fine, no big deal. So what I was talking about earlier in the foot, maybe I want to pinch this up to make something a little bit more original. I don't want to squeeze it too thin because then it may not hold. It may crack when I try to set it up. Something like that would hold. So I know I'd have to let this dry a bit. If I set it on there now, it's going to collapse because it's too wet. But if I wait a little bit, let it firm up a little, then I'll be fine. Okay? So now, you're done for the day. Haven't cleaned it up yet. You're done for the day as far as your project's going or as considered. Then you need to put in your locker. So you'll come back here. You'll grab a bag from this orange container. Right here. If you're ever done with one, just put it back in here. Grab the bag. You'll put your piece inside. Put it inside the bag. Try to get some of the air out. Then tuck it underneath. Okay? Tuck it underneath, put it in your locker. Make sure it's not breathing though. If there's a way for, like if there's a hole in your bag or you just didn't cover it well, it will dry your project out and it may get to bone dry or to where you can't work on it anymore and then you gotta start over. So be aware, okay? Any questions? All right, go ahead and go back to your seats and I'll tell you about concept art.